The Charlotte Hornets players, they end their exit interviews for the season. We'll talk and comb through all of their sound bites and try to figure out, make some sense as the offseason goes on. Also, Jake Fischer of Bleacher Report had a chance to talk with him about the Charlotte Hornets offseason ahead. And then you guys provided your GIFs for Doug Branson at the end of the season, your pain-filled GIFs. We'll talk about all that today on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available on all platforms. That includes YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter at Walker Mail, at Doug Branson, LOH, and on the show handle at Locked On Hornets. We are live. It is a Hive Live Friday. No David Walker, so not as crowded as it usually is. Yeah, pouty face. Doug, show us the pouty. Now show us your blue steel. We are sad. There you go. Now we're sexy. David Walker is not with us. We'd be sexier if he was joining us, but he's not going to. Hopefully next Friday. Weird time. Man, crazy Hornets Palooza the last 2 days. Just exit interviews left and right. We got through most of the key players yesterday. We got through, I think it was Montrez. It was the rookies today. And now we just wait to hear from Mitch Kupchak, maybe sometime next week. And we'll see if he's going to continue to be the GM of the Charlotte Hornets because of that Jake Fischer interview that I had talking with him. Also, you saw the Bleacher Report article that was dropped. You can follow him on Twitter at Jake L. Fisher and check that out if you haven't yet. But some things to comb through here. James Borrego, LaMelo Ball talking about the season that just took place, about the ending, a tough pill to swallow once again to the Atlanta Hawks where they just got destroyed. But Doug, let's go with James Borrego first because he had the positive spin that had a message that resonated with the players.
Trying to save his job.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he compared the Charlotte Hornets to having improved 10 games each of the last 2 seasons, and that the only team to do that recently is the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. And anytime you're in the same company of those 2 teams, then that's a good conversation to be had. It's funny. Terry Rozier was talking about it in his exit interview. He said, you know what? Coach did tell us, you remember that? He said, Coach told us something that was kind of helpful, that we had these 10 game improvement. Excuse me. My brain is gone today, but how
you said before the show, your brain was melty soup, which I tried to get my brain around the idea of it being melty soup. By the way, AL on the YouTube chat says, is that the L hat, Doug? It is indeed. I didn't wear it on yesterday's show, as a few of you pointed out. I was saving it for this fun Friday.
Yeah,
the big L hat.
Yeah, it's so
for those
fun.
that don't know, the big L hat is the 2017 All-Star hat, the All-Star game that never happened in Charlotte. I managed to snag one out of the team store right before the game got canceled, so it's the big L hat.
It is full of shame. Your head is full of shame as you don that big L hat, because the 2017 All-Star game that never happened because of the HB2 law, just all of it's sick, and it so fits the bill of being a big L hat.
Can I talk about this Borrego comment?
It was all about the positive spin for him. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first, Danny on the chat makes the good point, or brings up the good point from John Hollinger. Danny on the chat says, John Hollinger made a funny point that a coach who isn't on the hot seat probably doesn't go out of his way to defend the team's record multiple times in a post-game interview, right? I mean, everything that I heard from Borrego was a spin to make it seem like there was, positive growth, both from an individual player standpoint, but also from a team standpoint. He also pointed out that the team, I guess, won 10 more games in 2 seasons. The only other teams to do that in consecutive seasons were the Phoenix Suns,
Golden State,
and I forget what other team.
Golden State, yeah. Were you? I don't think you were listening to me. I don't think you were listening to me at all. I said that.
Well, I mean, come on, of course.
Is your brain melty soup?
My brain's melty soup too. But so here's the thing: the Hornets are not in any kind of league with the Phoenix Suns and Golden State Warriors. And that's the point, right? Like that, no, fans don't care about if you got 10 more wins when you only won 20-some games a couple of years ago. They want to win 50 games. They want to see the team play in the playoffs. That's all that the fans care about. They don't care about the growth. They want to see a winning product on the floor. That's number one. Number two, this whole thing about the East getting better, that screams excuse to me. And I can't believe that Terry Rozier parroted it, like repeated it, because like that's, to me, that's excuse making. I don't care. Again, why should anyone care that the East has gotten better? That doesn't mean anything. You didn't win enough games as a team to get into the playoffs. You were 0 for 7 in overtime. You had opportunities to win basketball games and you didn't. And there were reasons that were out of your control, but there were also reasons that were in your control, both from the perspective of James Borrego and the perspective of the players. This was a failure, and I don't appreciate, both as a fan and someone that follows this team pretty closely, I don't appreciate the excuse making that I heard in some of these comments.
Yeah, James Borrego talked about that, doing a lot of the positive spin. He also talked about possible personnel changes. When talking about how to improve your defense, it was discussed that there can be some internal improvement, working on your game in the offseason, buying in, staying together. But he did admit that the easiest way to change your defense and improve is to change your personnel, which is going to be at the feet of one Mitch Kupchak, as long as he is the GM of the Charlotte Hornets. Whatever GM comes in place is going to have to try to figure out that end of the floor, because it was by far the weakest side for the Charlotte Hornets. And it's always going to come down to that big guy. We've always made a huge deal of the center spot. James Borrego has said it. We've documented that a million times. And it's the number one thing this front office is going to have to try to take care of. And you know what, Doug? LaMelo Ball even mentioned it in the Slam article when he did a Q&A with Slam. And so LaMelo Ball yesterday, honestly, I didn't take anything. The one thing he said that I found interesting was Miles Bridges, wanting him back. That wasn't the interesting part. The thing he said was it's important to bring him back if you want to build something. And I think that is a message. He wants Charlotte to bring Miles back. He also said Miles is a grown man. I'm not going to tell him what to do, what offer sheet to agree to from any other franchise. But clearly he wants one of his best friends back on the team. And I agree. I think Charlotte is going to match any offer sheet that comes the way of Miles, and LaMelo is going to be happy about it.
Well, I think there's an interesting conversation to be had. We can have it right now. We can have it in the second segment. We're going to be having it all off season, I think. And that conversation is, okay, it's clear that the team, they like one another, right? Especially the core players. They like one another. They enjoy playing basketball together. They enjoy each other off the court as well.
LaMelo, Miles, and Terry are the top three that constantly talk about one another on.
Right. LaMelo calls them a brotherhood. Okay. That's all well and good. But the real question from a fans, again, if you're a fan, I don't know why you care about that. You only care about, are these the players that you want that can go win basketball games and provide a playoff product? So the question is, should they stay together, or would this team benefit from both a shakeup of the front office, but also a roster shakeup that says, hey, by the way, nothing's guaranteed here. If you're buddies, that's fine. You can be buddies and go, and somebody else can go play for the Houston Rockets. But it's time to put a winning product on the floor. And if you're not fully bought in, and that's where the internal improvement comes in. If you're not fully bought into being an offensive player and getting better as a defensive player, then the Hornets have no chance of being a decent basketball team.
Doug, friends don't send friends to the Houston Rockets. Don't do that.
Friends, again, it's not about friends. It's not about them sending each other. I get that's funny, but it's about the team. I think the front office recognizing that. I don't care about chemistry. I care about wins. Okay? I don't care about people being friends.
It's the only argument I need, wins. Sean. I care about wins with a Z. I care about championships, Sean. Unless you're winning a championship, then it's a failure. If you're not first, you're last.
I think LaMelo did have some. I think LaMelo did have some interesting things to say. I'd love to talk about it in the next segment. We've got a lot of the comments are blowing up right now. Put some questions in the comments. I want to answer those in segment 3 when we also roll through some of the GIFs that you submitted.
Do you want to scroll through some comments right now before we go to break, or do you want to hit that
No, I want to talk about these. Okay. I think LaMelo had a lot of not interesting things to say, as he's sort of wont to do in these interviews. He doesn't give you a lot, but when he gives you something, I think we should talk about it. I thought he had some interesting things to say.
All right, let's get to some of those interesting things that LaMelo had to say in just a moment. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs, baseball season. I forgot about the upcoming graphic once again. My brain is melty soup. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's talk about some of those interesting things LaMelo had to say, maybe some other exit interview stuff, but my interview with Jake Fischer also, he had some interesting stuff to say. It's also to come. Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
We need Mitch Kupchak to throw a party like Sam Presti. Can he party like Presti? And Russell Westbrook?
Yeah, but who are you going to get to perform? Because remember, they got Nas.
They did get Nas. Man, who is Mitch Kupchak getting to that party to perform? Can we get Nelly?
No.
Master P!
Yeah,
I hate you right now.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
I was waiting for the graphic there. Where was the graphic coming out of the break? See, that's on you. That one's not on me. That one's not on me. Doug made the mistake. What did you want to talk about, Doug? What did LaMelo say?
I love one of his first comments when he was talking about the season. He said the season was smooth until the last game.
He said the last one didn't count.
He said, I'm not going to count that.
It's essentially the same thing James Borrego said. They said
okay.
the same thing.
Okay, well, James Borrego, LaMelo Ball, I hate to break it to you, okay? You cannot count it if you want to, but the NBA for sure counted it. They counted the last play-in game, too, that you put on the practice facility. They counted both of those games, and you lost both of those games in pretty horrendous fashion. So you cannot count it. That's fine. But I think everybody else is counting it. The other interesting thing, he said he never wants to wear number 2 again.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, he said it was like he didn't even know who he was out there. And honestly, I take that seriously. I think that's interesting. I think there's a certain psychology and a certain interesting idea about how players, they get into these grooves, not superstitions necessarily, but they have these routines and they have these things that they identify with and they feel comfortable with. And I know, have you ever underdressed or overdressed for an event and you feel uncomfortable, like going to a wedding and someone says, yeah, it's casual, just come to the wedding, but just have a collared shirt on, it's fine. And then you get there and everyone's wearing a tux and you're like, come on. Like you feel super uncomfortable the entire time.
The classic example would be dressing like you're going to work, even if you're working from home. Don't put on the sweats in the morning. Put on your suit. Put on your dress clothes, and it'll make you feel a little more productive.
No,
and
that's not happening.
You're not going to do that. You're putting on the sweatpants.
No, this is my work uniform.
It really
going to work, baby.
Yeah, that is.
But so I get it, and I hope, and I think honestly, do you remember this, Walker? I think it was he could have worn number 1 this season, but he didn't submit it on time.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think what took place was the fact that yes, Malik Monk had number 1 first, and LaMelo would have had to pay a ton of money to buy back all of the merchandise because the NBA is already selling 2 stuff. And so,
but what about this season?
Well, no, this season it should be good. So now he should be number 1 next year by all.
No, what I'm saying is what happened. So you're saying that's what he would have had to buy back to wear number 1 this past season.
I think the process had already passed him. It's not that it was LaMelo not submitting it in time. It was that it just wasn't going to be able to take place. I'm pretty sure that's right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it was like LaMelo was just late on submitting his desires. I think it was just, and you have to account for 1 whole year's worth of time because here they are selling all of this merchandise on the website and stuff like that. And now they have to catch up NBA, the store, whatever official team sites
Well,
have to catch up with the merchandise.
whatever. I don't care if it's LaMelo's responsibility, if it's the Hornets team responsibility, whoever's responsibility is, get this man number one so that he can play like a number one. Okay. I don't need to see him in a number two ever again. Like, let's get this guy comfortable. Let's get him whatever he needs, because we don't need any distractions next season. We need LaMelo feeling like LaMelo. The final thing that I want to get to that LaMelo said that was interesting is he used the word "be curious," which is curious because that's also the word that Borrego kept using. It was the buzzword, being curious about being a better defender, being curious about just team defense, watching what makes a great defender, what makes a great team defense a great team defense. Borrego kept using the word curious, and then you heard that from LaMelo as well. I think that's interesting. LaMelo, again, doesn't have to come out and say the things that Borrego was obviously saying behind the scenes. If he's saying it in front of the cameras, he was saying it behind the scenes. So I think that does go to show you that there is some listening happening. There is some connection happening between the two. Whether that means there's like full buy-in, or what that means about, how LaMelo feels about Borrego, I don't know, but I'm just telling you that he's saying the same things that Borrego's saying.
That's a beautiful segue. Thank you, Doug, because Jake Fischer talked about that in my interview with him and his piece on Bleacher Report. In fact, Jake Fischer admitted that he doubled down on it. So I asked him about what his understanding was of the relationship between James Borrego and LaMelo. If you will remember, in that piece, he said that JB does have the backing of the key players, and then he specifically named Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball. And then he said, to end his piece in that last paragraph, he said James Borrego has the trust of Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball. Nobody is surprised about Miles. In fact, James Borrego in his exit interview said Miles Bridges will always carry a special place because they came into the league together. Miles has grown so much. He talked about how much he's grown to the point where nobody thought this is the kind of product we'd get. I think that's probably fair to say of everybody watching that form of Miles the first 2 years in the league. But it was a little surprising to hear that LaMelo apparently, reportedly, rumoredly, actually has a good relationship with James Borrego. So and that's the thing that we've talked about. Big thumbs up, big thumbs up. Where are we, Joaquin Phoenix? It looks like it's pretty solid. It looks like we might even have two. I don't know if that changes, but that's at least what Jake Fischer was talking about, confirming exactly what he wrote in his Bleacher Report article. And that has to carry some weight when deciding what to do with whatever GM is going to man the Hornets next year.
Yeah, but I think also, again, I think this team at times was complacent and was hearing the messages, saying they heard the messages, and then not acting upon it. And I just think as an organization, you have to consider, like, what if you want to retain this core, right? If you want to bring back all of these players and run it back, then you have to be either damn sure that the leader of this team can actually get them to make those internal improvements, or you have to decide actually what would help wake this team up if we want to bring back all of these players is to make a statement by saying, all right, new coach, new regime, because obviously this wasn't happening. Well, I just think that the organization has to consider all of that.
Yeah. So Jake Fischer also said he very much expects James Borrego to be back, as do I. I don't think they're going to fire him. You can get mad, and I understand if you want to move on from JB, but I think he's going to be back. So does anybody else that is close to the situation. Now, if the GM changes, maybe so does the new head coach. But with him coming back, it's also going to be interesting to decide how this happens with personnel, like exactly what takes place. I asked Jake about what his understanding was between Mitch Kupchak and James Borrego. What is their relationship like? This was not in the article. And he said, based on everything he hears, Borrego has a seat at the table in the draft room. Mitch Kupchak hears him out on a lot of stuff. Like, they have a good working relationship, but there is a disconnect with some of the things as to how this roster has been built. And of course, he referenced the center position because James Borrego doesn't have anything to work with as a defensive anchor. And if you look at some of the other teams Borrego has coached, which is basically the Orlando Magic during his interim days, one of the things he liked to do was provide an anchor down there. He wanted to protect the rim. That is something he wants to do. And it's kind of why you see all these wide open 3-point shots is he wants to try to bring back as many players to the paint as possible, even if you don't have that defensive anchor. So that was something that is going to have to be worked out between Mitch, whatever the GM is, and Borrego moving forward.
You want my opinion? You want my official opinion?
Always want your opinion.
One gotta go. That's my official opinion. One gotta go. If they run this whole thing back, I would be disappointed because I just don't think I've seen enough evidence. I've seen growth. I've seen individual improvements from players. I'm not saying that this has been a complete and utter devastating disaster, but it's 2 straight play-ins. It's 2 straight embarrassments. The defense has not gotten considerably better. Fool me once, shame on you. Mm-hmm. Fool me twice.
There you go.
Shame on you again. If you fool me twice.
I was about to say, who are you putting the shame on this time? Do you want to have
putting the shame on you, Walker, because you want him to run it back, and I don't. And I'm just telling you, running it back would be a disaster.
True.
One gotta go.
Why are you putting words in my mouth? When did I ever say I want to run it back? When did I ever say that? Do you want to read some comments? Do you want to scroll a little bit since we're going live?
Chief said firing JB would be a horrible mistake. Bets are off based on next season, though. So Chief wanting one more season. Tyler saying one of the most frustrating things about this year in hindsight is that we basically didn't play our rookies while also underperforming with the players that did play. So you didn't get that, Tyler saying you didn't get that development from the young players while at the same time underperforming with the vets. I mean, he has a point. Honestly, Tyler has a point.
Yeah, I mean,
Dalton saying James got to go. I hate his lineups and decision-making and defensive schemes.
Okay, so JB's got to go.
Dalton is out on JB. Omara says, I hope Bridges gets re-signed.
He will be.
Oh, is that your official position? Are you standing that official position?
Yeah, they're gonna re-sign him. Like they're not gonna have any cap space to work with anything else unless they trade Gordon Hayward, which they're going to. They don't have a choice but to search for a trade partner with Gordon Hayward, and it looks like Indiana would be the key team. I keep going back to Indiana, Doug, with that Gordon Hayward stuff. It just makes too much sense. Just give us Miles. Bring Gordon back home.
Miles Turner,
and let's get the center that is a little injury ridden right now, but who cares because we have one guy on our side like that too.
Yeah, it's injury riddle for injury riddle.
Yeah, that's
riddle
fine.
Me this. Give me a center.
We'll solve it. We'll solve it with Miles Turner. We will finally bring that guy who has been traded to the Hornets about 13 times. We'll just bring him on home. But this is something Jake said. I asked him about the chances that Miles Bridges actually lands with a different team. He said virtually zero. Based on what he hears from any other team and the Hornets, right, on both sides, which, believe him as much as you want to, but if you're getting it from both sides, that makes sense. That whatever offer Miles Bridges would get out there from another team, the Hornets are going to offer, or the Hornets are going to match it. And it makes sense. Like, you can't, good luck trying to sell that to the fan base that that's the right decision unless you land some other big free agent name, which isn't going to happen because you do have a lot of other money tied up in Gordon right now. And that's you got to trade Gordon. You got to match Miles Bridges. Hopefully he comes down to like 30 based off of the five-year $173 million total that he's going to be seeking. So we'll see exactly what that number is going to be, but virtually zero, I would agree with that. And that's what he's hearing around the league. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they solve the Gordon Hayward problem and the center problem at the same time, or if they try to make some maneuvers to solve both of those problems. Or if they decide they can only solve one problem, say, all right, well, we can only trade Gordon, but we can't really get a center back for that. So we've got to go, look at maybe Russ Westbrook and then try to, carve some room out for a really low value center.
By the way, I know we talked about the Russell Westbrook move being all about cap flexibility. The more I think about it, the more I would hate it. I would hate it. Don't trade for Russell Westbrook, even if it's Gordon Hayward. Don't put this, because then you're punting on winning again. Like it's $47 million. Don't do it.
Thank you.
Don't do it.
You're coming over to my side.
I never wanted Russell.
It took a little while.
No, it's not true.
It took a little while, but he finally, folks, you heard it here. He finally came over to my side.
you just talk over me, then they're going to listen to you. But it's true. You're absolutely right. They are going to listen to you. It is a fail-proof plan.
All right, one more comment.
All
The
right.
Casa Lemon TV said, Melo wants Bridges. If I recall, he doesn't really mention anyone else that he really wants to stay. Well, he didn't mention that he didn't want anyone else to stay, but he does specifically call out Miles Bridges. They're buds.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's
he was
great. I'm sure.
specifically asked about that, too. I mean, he was asked.
I'm sure the
about this.
hangouts are awesome. I would just enjoy if Miles Bridges can turn into the kind of defender you can unleash on a team's best wing, or and LaMelo to make some serious improvements on the defensive end as well. Stop gambling as much and just keep some guys in front.
Yeah, Miles said, I mean, he'd love to play the entirety of his career with with LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier. He specifically named both of those guys. So.
And then he was like, talk to Rich Paul, my agent, about the contract. I don't think about any of that. There's so much lying in these these exit interviews.
Well, I mean,
Miles thinks about his contract.
He's probably better suited to let Rich Paul just answer all of this stuff because he's going to get the money. Miles did nod, by the way, when he was asked if he really did get offered a 4-year, $60 million contract. He did nod to approve of that.
Wait, what? Well, I mean, there's a lot of nods. What can you recreate?
That was it.
That's a good, yeah, it's a
That was
little, so what Walker did there for the podcast audience was a slight shift of the head and then a quick nod.
Yep.
And that to me says, come on, of course. Yes.
That was
like,
right.
that's the kind, this kind of thing is like, oh yeah, this is an oh yeah nod. It's a long nod straight up
Right.
and down. Yours was a tilted head, quick nod. That's a come on, yes.
I think Miles Bridges likes to go with the tilt head media presence, and I respect that. I like it. Be off kilter. We don't need you to be exactly in the middle. Miles Bridges giving you the tilt head nod. Coming up in the third segment of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Oh, my bad. Hold on.
It's your fault.
Sorry, I was looking at the comments. I was scrolling. The comments are so good. Keep them coming on YouTube.
I kept the space. Do you want to go to? All right, we'll go to more when we come back from break. But I need to talk to you guys about Built Bar. I need to. I crave it, just like I crave Built Bar. It's the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, especially the ones that mean staying fit. But I can get back on it if I go to Built.com and try some of those delicious limited time flavors, those puffs, the OGs covered in 100% chocolate. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're tasty, they're treaty, they're all of those things. All Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate. Yes, low calorie as well, high protein, low in sugar, high in fiber. It's good for you. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. And then when you're done visiting Built.com, go to RockAuto.com. Just knock out your tasty candy bar, energy bar things, and your car business, bang, bang, in a row. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning? You don't have to do that anymore. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Their prices are reliably low for every customer, and they have everything you could need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil. They even have new carpet. Go to rockauto.com right now. Do it right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in their How Do You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you. An amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com. We scroll for some comments and we finish up our thoughts. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
10, Al Jefferson. 9, Anthony Mason. 8, Gerald Wallace. 7, Baron Davis. 6, Dale Curry. 5, Glenn Rice. 4, Muggsy Bogues. 3, Larry Johnson. 2, Alonzo Mourning.
Nice.
Number 1, top Charlotte Hornet of all time, Kemba Walker. Woo! Thank you, everybody. The list is done.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
That clip you just played has to be our best timing sequence of all time because of all of the drops that you had during that list. My spaces, they were amazing. All right, Doug, you put out a question on Twitter as we were at peak shame. You said, Hornets fans, dare I ask how you feeling? And you did it. You put that stipulation on there. Parentheses, GIFs only, please. End of parentheses. We got some bangers. You got like 60 replies. And all of them are good.
Listen, when you call for GIFs, people, especially in those highly emotional moments, people need these pictures to really illustrate how they were feeling, and people were all in their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I tweeted this like mid-game. This wasn't even after the game. I think it was after the game was already over, though, for sure.
It was peak shame. It was peak shame.
By the way, Chief is all over the YouTube comments. He's all over our Twitter. We love it.
Chief.
Big fan of the show. Shouts to Chief. He is the ultimate Hornets optimist. I think he really is on the spectrum of optimist to pessimist. He is way on the optimist side.
We need you, Chief,
need
to
that.
balance
Good
out.
balance.
Man. God, you are essential to the Hornets fandom. You are essential. We appreciate you, Chief.
David just putting on the David Laundry just putting on it.
Oh man, David Laundry is awesome too. We appreciate all his support throughout the year.
Yeah, 144-117 Pacers Hornets. Yep, that was on the practice facility, and it didn't matter. Dylan, friend of the show, the old Kermit falling. I don't know how many stories.
It's
Several
such
stories.
A classic. Just the flailing, just bang right into the cement. It's fantastic.
Daniel tweeting, burn it all down. Burn it all down. I wonder if he still feels that way. Danny's on the chat right now. Danny, do you still feel this way? Do you want to burn it all down, start over, go back to square one, or try to rebuild around the edges? I'm interested to know. Painbot, all I know is pain. This is the classic Stephen A. Smith GIF of bamboozled. Yep. I need to get my homework done. I'm not sure what this one means. Maybe I'm speculating here that this one is that the Hornets need to get their homework done.
Yeah,
that they actually need to do some homework, figure out these defensive issues. I'll keep scrolling. We can talk about other stuff while we scroll. I can try to scroll. I don't know if I can double scroll on the comments too. But a lot of people in here saying LaMelo needs to get his number. No more fooling around with LaMelo's jersey.
Dude feels
get him
weird.
The number.
We need him to feel normal. We need him to feel not normal because he's not normal. We need him to feel good. We need him to feel abnormal. But he feels weird with number 2. I don't know. It's a conundrum. Just give him number 1 because it's what he wants. You like this one, Doug? This GIF right here?
You may not like it, but you have to accept it. I don't know if Nate is maybe a Hawks fan, maybe because this is a little antagonizing. But I always enjoy the wrestling GIF. This is of course the Boss Man, right?
I don't know anything about wrestling. Zero. That's
not the Boss Man.
We need not to talk about that. I love this one. I love this one. Thank you, Kevin, for putting in. I guess this is my life now. That one makes me laugh.
Andy from The Office. Yeah,
we just kind of have to accept it.
Classics. A couple classics here. Michael Scott, Dead Inside. The end of Training Day.
Thank you,
when of course Denzel's character gets straight up murdered, which
in
is
Pelican Bay.
Hornets. I mean, just great. A lot of Jordan crying face. Yep, a lot of that.
That's a great one. Family Guy. Thank you. I think there's one where we have Hank Hill putting a water hose to his temple. I think we have that one somewhere down in the chat.
I mean, just so many. Oh, here's one with Vince McMahon firing Eric Bischoff. Although I think, to be fair, I think Eric Bischoff certainly would have gotten us a center in the offseason. I mean, Bischoff would not have gone into a season without an NBA level big rotation.
A physical one too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, that guy was WCW before he was WWE. So there's a more physical brand of wrestling for sure. Let's see. I expect nothing, and I'm still let down. Yeah. I mean, that's where fans are right now. I mean, they don't have any expectations because the last time this team made the playoffs was 2016. That's what I'm saying.
This is our life now.
How could we? Oh, but whatever. They won 10 more games for 2 straight seasons. Great, excellent, fantastic. Oh, the East got better. Well, okay. Well, that's fine then. You can be bad at your jobs as long as everybody else is better at their jobs. You can be bad at your job, I guess.
Go ahead, Doug. Go off on the front office, on the organization, on the team.
Just frustrated, man. I'm just frustrated because I get it. Look, I have perspective. Okay, I have perspective. I understand that LaMelo made some big strides this year. And really is ready, I think, to take this team over. And I think understands what he needs to get better at and will get better at that as I sit on this GIF of somebody vomiting in a toilet.
Yeah, thank you for stopping right there.
I understand that Miles got considerably better in certain aspects of his game. I understand that the organization did do some things around the margins at the trade deadline and using 10 days to put this team into a position to win. But I also understand that they were the 10th seed. And I'm just now, I guess I just got to get happy about doing mock drafts.
Which you love. Don't act. Are you graduated from mock drafts now?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited, Walker. I'll tell you why, because they may have 2 first rounders if the Pelicans can get the dub tonight.
That's right. We are kind of pulling for some playoff basketball. We are pulling for the Pellies.
I've been a huge Pelicans fan for a long time, since they moved to New Orleans. In fact, I've been a huge Pelicans. I mean, Chris Paul, love Chris Paul.
Yep, best Hornet of all time, no doubt about it. Anthony Davis, all those guys that
Jamal
played.
McGlure,
all-star. Jamal
Baron
McGlure.
Davis, great New Orleans Pelican.
They're fantastic. Yeah, really like that. I think it was a smart move. I'm not going anymore. That's going to go touch a nerve for Charlotte Hornets fans. All right, any last comments you want to read before we end today's show?
James saying the month of February destroyed the season. I've been saying it for a long time. Get rid of February. First of all, it's hard to say. There's an R there for some reason. Everybody knows it's February, and yet there's an R there. February. No one says February. It's just like a library. No, come on. I mean, there's just too many R's.
I don't
get
think
rid of the
like
R's.
That was
get rid of the
example.
R's. Get rid of February. Get rid of it, and the Hornets would have been fine.
No, that's great analysis. What are some of the other comments that people are writing in?
Let's see. I don't know. I'm scrolling. Let me scroll. David said it is hard playing defense on the perimeter with Swiss cheese in the paint. Well, so this is a good point, right? I think that obviously the team, one goes with the other. Like the fact that they didn't have great perimeter defenders made the fact that the Hornets did not have a center that could defend at the rim even worse. But vice versa too. Like the fact that they didn't have anyone at the rim that could protect, it challenged the perimeter defenders in such a way that it exposed everything about the defense. And they were constantly having to do things to make up for the fact that they didn't have anyone who could protect the rim really, except for PJ Washington. Made PJ Washington better. I mean, if you want one silver lining, it's that I don't know if PJ Washington is where he is right now, which is honestly one of the best players and deserving of a starting spot. I don't think he's there if the Hornets didn't have all of these issues, because he's not going to get that kind of playing time.
Well, yeah, the other thing is, PJ, I think PJ did kind of relish the opportunity to move back up to the 4, though, right? Miles Bridges going to the 3, PJ going to the 4. I don't think you're listening. I think you're watching just right now.
Just scrolling these. I just
it's
love
okay.
all. That's a classic.
Oh, Wesley Snipes crying.
Wesley Snipes.
Yep, that's perfect. All right. Thank you. Oh, that's a good one. Dejana, and a Bobcat one, no less. Dejana.
Well, David understands. David Willis on Twitter understands. He knows, just throw a Bobcats GIF in there and it all makes sense. It all feels right.
Yeah, better, or I should say worse. That one's dark. You don't like that one as much as I do. Going up to the one where somebody is drinking dishwashing detergent in their wine
don't do
glass.
that. Don't do that. God, you're
not
trying to get us kicked off of YouTube, for goodness sake.
Yeah, we're not condoning it. It's still funny.
So this is a sneak good one. This is SpongeBob, and it's "Hello Darkness, my old friend," but I'm pretty sure "friend's" misspelled there.
Yeah,
I'm not a genius, but
oh, here's my Hank Hill. Yes, thank
there
you.
it is,
It's
Hank
just
Hill.
BB. That's a great one.
I mean, look, I think fans are frustrated, and I think that the organization has a responsibility to say, here's what we're doing to fix this. I don't think they should take that for granted. I kind of have a suspicion they are going to, but I don't think they should take for granted the imaging of a team that has LaMelo Ball, that has a future superstar, and has spent 2 years getting absolutely embarrassed on national television. I just wonder if the organization understands that, understands how fans view that. They don't like getting embarrassed on national TV. They don't like how that feels. And if you're somebody in the organization that's high up and you're not watching it on ESPN because you're watching it from your suite, I'm just not sure you understand that. I hope they do. I hope someone's in their ear saying, hey, fans are kind of getting sick of getting blown out on ESPN and having Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson make jokes about them.
You are a man of the people. You are the mouthpiece to the fans, and you are screaming at the organization to get this right. And if they don't, then it's going to be a lot more pain for the Charlotte Hornets fans that watch this product next season. We'll get to a lot of the exit interview stuff over the course of the next 2 weeks. No, I'm not taking responsibility for that one. I'm not doing it. We're not coming up to the end. I'm not going to announce coming up at the end. No, you don't put that one on me. That's you. You're late. You're a segment late, buddy. That one's not
what
on
a
me.
week. Woo.
We're not throwing
It's
that
only
on me.
Wednesday.
We do have a lot of content to kind of sift through here, the decisions, because I think it was Brett Siegel who put out an article today that the Charlotte Hornets are going to be the most interesting team in the offseason when it comes to any team in the NBA. So lots to talk about, and you can catch us daily here on the Locked On Hornets podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And you can make us your first listen. Now make your second listen, Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free. It's available wherever you get your podcast. Also, check us out on YouTube. If you did not watch the YouTube edition today, then you missed out on a lot of visual cues. Like, this was very much so a visual medium.
Well, we tried to explain the GIFs, but I'm sure that wasn't a great listen either.
That was probably really bad. That's
okay.
I'm glad we got the reads in before the third segment.
I'll say, like, seriously though, if you're a diehard listener to the podcast, we love you. Thank you. You've been supporting us for a long time. We've been doing this podcast thing for a long time. Audio, we love you. That's why we only do these kind of visual segments, maybe one segment a week. But I would just encourage you, just maybe check it out on YouTube. The experience is a lot better for podcasting. They're doing a lot of investments in podcasts right now. And so I think the experience is going to get even better. And we really enjoy the YouTube product. We put a lot of effort into it. It's not just like us throwing the audio up there. We're trying to do a lot of cool things and make it like a little show and do these live and take your comments. So come check us out on YouTube if you haven't already.
Yeah, I mean, Doug's got some Pelicans jerseys in the background. He grew up a New Orleans fan. There, he's got the New Orleans hat on right now, the big L hat. Hum diddly dee! It's not me. That's all on you. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets.
Have a Locked On Hornets podcast
coming up on Monday, and it doesn't count. Hum diddly dee! We'll be back with you then.